Welcome back to my universe. I'm Lum. Last episode, we talked about finding God, about authenticity becoming my spirituality, about connection that doesn't require institutional religion. But before I could claim any of that, before I could understand what faith actually meant, I had to go on a journey through being different. This is that story. It's about being born seeing through things. About living in a small, rural Midwest town where that seeing made me dangerous. About learning to love myself in spite of and because of being a lone wolf. This is about how I was lost and how I'm finding my way home. I grew up in Beeman, Illinois. It's a small, rural Midwest town where everyone knows everyone, where family names mean something, where there are very specific rules about how to be, what to aspire to be, and who belonged. My dad's side was the Golden family. My grandpa was the captain of his baseball, basketball, football teams. He married young, became a pillar of the community, and took over the family farm. Eventually, they even named a baseball diamond after him. He was the blue-eyed, blonde-haired boy that everyone wanted to be. You know, the American dream. And my dad was the black sheep. My mom, Hawaiian, brown-skinned, she would always just be the lady he knocked up. And I was the disappointing byproduct of his choice to settle for someone beneath him. Very early, I learned something. I could read what was happening underneath the surface. I could feel the tension in a room. I could sense what people needed before they even said it. I understood the systems, the invisible rules, the unspoken hierarchies, the values I threatened by merely existing. And I learned to absorb all of it. I learned to read what they needed me to be, and I became that. I was so desperate for their acceptance, their love. I'd try to smooth things over, make it better, fix it, because I couldn't fix my DNA. I couldn't fix my skin tone. I couldn't fix my humanness. But I could read the room, and that gift, that seeing, it is how I survived constantly threatening them. The problem was, nobody in my small town had language for what I was doing. I was not gifted. I was hyper, impulsive, too much. So I learned something else early. Keep what you see and what you know to yourself. But I couldn't stop seeing, knowing. I remember when the Iraq War started. I was a teenager. Everyone was full of fear, full of hate towards Muslims. And I couldn't just absorb that narrative. I needed to understand. So when I got to college, I took an Islam class for my humanities requirement to learn what we were actually fighting, to understand the people we were targeting instead of just swallowing the fear and falling in line. When people around me were hating LGBTQ people, spouting religious condemnations, claiming Moses or Jesus said so, I read the Bible. I wanted to understand the actual teaching, not the interpretation being forced on me. And to my dismay, the words they wanted to be true were not how I understood what I was reading. To this day, there's truly only one line that impressed upon me. Colossians 3:14. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. Because that's the entire theme of the Bible, whether we want to accept it or not. Anything else is just a stronghold, something to justify the lust, anger, or jealousy we refuse to face. When someone complained about a process, I always understood what was really driving them. Not the surface complaint, not the words, the actual intention underneath. The fear, the resistance, the self-protection. I could always see through the systems. I could understand how things actually worked beneath the convenient narratives. I could see how people were being controlled through fear, through shame, through the promise of belonging. So I always understood how my knowing threatened that comfort. Because once you see through an illusion, you can't unsee it. And you can't participate in it the same way. And that makes you dangerous to people who need the illusion to stay intact. In a small town where everyone benefits from keeping things the same, that makes you a problem. So I learned the cost. If you see clearly, people will shame you for it. They'll call you weird. They'll isolate you. They'll make you feel broken for seeing what's real. And for a long time, I accepted that shame. I accepted that I was broken. I stopped trusting my seeing. I started hiding what I actually understood. I made myself smaller so the systems could stay comfortable. Years went by like this. I was carrying everyone else's emotional load. I had zero boundaries. My energy belonged to everyone else. I was exhausted constantly because I was trying to be whoever they needed me to be. And the gifts, the seeing, the knowing, the reading, the understanding, I treated them like problems. Like anxiety. Like overthinking. Like I was too sensitive, too aware, too much, too impulsive with speaking my truth. I spent years trying to suppress what I actually knew. I'd swallow that truth. I'd bite my tongue instead of calling people out. I'd act like I didn't see what was happening. It was like someone handed you something beautiful and valuable, wrapped in gold. But everyone around you said it was trash. So you spent years trying to hide it, trying to destroy it, trying to become someone who didn't have it. I was fracturing. I was disappearing. I was losing myself. And I was genuinely lost for a really long time. I was lost because I was too busy being whoever everyone else needed me to be. I didn't understand that my ability to read the room, to sense the energy, to see through systems, they were never problems. They were inherited gifts. They were supposed to make me powerful. Instead, I was using them to serve other people's comfort while sacrificing my own. And the shame of being different in a place where different wasn't welcome, that stayed with me deep. It told me, you are too much and you do not belong. You're broken for seeing what you see. Ugh. I believed that for a long time. And then I discovered Qigong. I started studying Lao Tzu, and everything shifted. Because what I learned wasn't shine brighter or force people to understand you or prove that you're right and they are wrong. What I learned was flow. Wu wei. Non-action. Action without forcing. Lao Tzu teaches, can you love people and run things and do so by not doing? To give birth, to nourish, to bear, but not to own. To act and not lay claim. To lead, but not to rule. I had been fighting to be understood, fighting to prove my seeing was real, fighting to convince people to wake up, fighting against the shame and the isolation. But Qigong taught me something different. It taught me that I don't need to fight. I don't need to force understanding. I don't need to convince anyone. I just need to flow, to move like water, to be like the river that doesn't fight the rocks. It just flows around them. Lao Tzu says they'll either grow or they'll go. And that's when everything truly changed for me. I realized I didn't need everyone to understand me. Some people will grow into understanding. Some people won't. And that's not my failure. It's just how it works. I don't need to shrink myself so small people will stay. Some people will stay because they recognize something real in me. Most won't. And that's not a rejection of me. It's just the honest truth of being rare. I don't need to prove my seeing is right. I can trust what I see, move according to that seeing, and let people come or go as they choose. That's when I learned self-love. Not by becoming harder or brighter, but by becoming softer, more aligned, more in flow with who I actually am. So what does it actually mean that I'm a lone wolf? It means I've always been curious instead of fearful. When there's something I don't understand, I learn. I don't fear what I don't know. I'm drawn to it. I don't enjoy gossip. I'd rather understand people instead of judge them. Meet them where they are instead of ostracize them for thinking differently. I think bigger. I look up at the buildings and down in the details. I marvel at the sky and the birds above us. I watch people and the animals. I don't kill the spider that somehow found his way onto my arm. I make sure that he finds a safe place to land. I see how things connect across systems. I understand intention beneath surface words. And consequently, people get along better when I'm in the room. Because I move energy. I create space for connection. Sure, I'm chaos, but I'm the best kind of chaos. I'm magic. I'm rare. Most people prefer what's easy, what's familiar, what doesn't require them to question or grow. But I love to change. I love to evolve. I love to question everything. Why not? So naturally, I'm alone a lot. I don't have lifelong friends, not a single one. People come and go through my life like seasons. I have my family, and they even struggle with how much I see, how much I question, how unwilling I am to accept comfortable illusions. So I'm a lone wolf. But I choose this. Not because I don't want to belong. Everyone wants to belong. To feel safe and loved and seen. But because belonging means fraud. It means pretending I don't know what I know. It means accepting illusions that I know aren't real and are sometimes damaging. It means making myself smaller to keep other people comfortable. And I reached a point where that cost was too high, where I'd rather be alone and awake than surrounded and asleep, where I'd rather be honest and speak truth than be liked and lying, where I'd rather trust my seeing than accept the guilt of silent facilitation. That's the lone wolf journey. That is self-love in its truest form. Now I'm practicing what Tao taught me. I meditate by the lake. I practice Tai Chi by the water. I dance in the rain with my daughters. Mother Gaia recharges me when the crowds drain me. I don't wear makeup. I don't curate my appearance. I have pimples and imperfect teeth, and I'm not hiding them. I'm just here, fully visible, unapologetically myself. I don't care about designer things. I see third world slavery. I see the interconnected systems that make luxury possible, so I won't fuel it. While other people are curating their images with status symbols, I'm choosing clarity over comfort, real over pretty. I see through the masks people wear. I understand the intentions underneath the surface complaints. I read the patterns across the systems. And I'm learning to trust that seeing. Not to prove it to anyone, not to convince anyone. Just to trust it and act from it. I'm learning to set boundaries, not to dim my light, but to protect my energy so I can show up fully for the people God gave me, who value what I have to offer. I'm learning that being a lone wolf isn't lonely. It's aligned. It's flow. It's moving according to what's real inside me instead of what's required outside of me to keep up the performance. I'm learning to love myself in all that aloneness because my seeing is real. My clarity is real. My ability to read energy and understand systems and move people towards connection. That's real. Spirit gave it to me. Not to prove anything, not to convince anyone, but to serve. To help people see what they can't see on their own. To translate the invisible into clarity. And that's a gift worth protecting. That's a gift worth being alone for. So if you're different, if you see things others don't, if you read patterns in ways that make you feel isolated or broken, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're rare. And the world needs rare people. The world needs people who can see through the illusions, who understand systems, who can read intention and move energy and create connection. But the world will shame you for it. The world will tell you you're too much, that you don't belong, that you need to shrink so you don't threaten anyone. Because we fear what we can't understand. And maybe for a little while, you will believe that. You'll try to fit in. You'll hide what you see. You'll make yourself small. But eventually, you'll reach a breaking point. You'll realize that the cost of fitting in is too high. That being liked isn't worth being invisible. And you'll choose to be alone and awake. That's when your real life begins. That's when you stop fighting to be understood and start flowing with who you actually are. That's when you learn that being different isn't a problem to solve. It's a gift to protect. So I'm inviting you into that. Into the lone wolf journey. into the self-love that comes from choosing yourself over belonging, into trusting what you see even if nobody else sees it yet. That's what being a lone wolf means. And it's the bravest thing you can do. And that's my universe for today. I'm Lo. Thank you for being here while I talk about being different, about seeing through systems, about choosing yourself over comfort. If you've been shamed for seeing clearly, for being rare, for asking questions, know this. Your seeing is legitimate. Your clarity, it's real. And you are brave for trusting it. We'll see you next time. And until then, keep your face to the sunshine and move to the beat of your own drum.